So in this video, I'm going to go over some tips on how you can teach your child to use a spoon. And so my first tip is for you to give your child their own spoon during mealtime. So that means there will be 2 spoons during mealtime. One that you'll have that you'll use to feed your child, and another spoon that they'll have that they can explore with at their leisure. And so children as young as 5-6 months of age are starting to eat some pureed foods. And that's a great time for you to also introduce a spoon for them to start exploring with as well. That way they'll get that exposure in early, so when it's time for them to start using that spoon to feed themselves, it'll be something that they're already familiar with. And so my second tip is to make sure that you give your child a spoon that has a short handle. And that's key because a short handle will be easier for little hands to maintain a good grasp on the spoon to learn how to coordinate all the movements that they need to with a spoon. So you'll want to avoid giving them one of the long-handled infant spoons or a plastic spoon or one of those metal teaspoons, as those can be trickier for your child to hold and then learn to coordinate all the spoon skills. And so my third tip is to offer foods that have a thicker consistency, like oatmeal, mashed potatoes, pudding, yogurt, applesauce. It's a lot easier for a child to learn how to dip instead of scoop. And so you'll want to start with dipping first, and these thicker consistencies will stick to the spoon, so that way when your child is bringing that spoon to their mouth and potentially inverting it, the food will still stay on the spoon itself, so they'll get that reward of the food going into their mouth despite the fact that they're still working on coordination. And so you'll want to avoid the foods that have thin liquids like cereal and milk or soups, because those can be a lot trickier to learn how to coordinate overall versus foods that are thicker that you can just dip the spoon into itself. And so my fourth tip is to ensure that you present the food in a suction bowl, a suction plate, or a suction placemat. And so that way your child doesn't have to worry about holding the pudding container and stabilizing that while they're learning how to use the spoon itself. It'll also be helpful so that way it doesn't tip over in case they try to use the side of the bowl in order to help with getting some food onto the spoon itself. And so my last tip is for you to offer your child a preloaded spoon. So basically, you'll just take the spoon, dip it in whatever food, leave it on the table for them to just grab, pick up, and bring to their mouth. And so one tip that you can also use as well, if your child is having difficulty with targeting the bowl of the spoon to their mouth and maybe inverting it en route, you can actually position the preloaded spoon with the bowl portion facing them and the handle facing away from them. So that way, all the child has to do is grab the spoon and then use movements from their elbow to bring it to their mouth. They won't have to worry about coordinating movements from their wrist or their forearm to do so. And so those are my tips on how you can teach your child to use a spoon. Thanks for watching my video.